In my time working with entrepreneurs, I have found there are two things that we don't have a lot of: time and money, right? Most of us are bootstrapping it, and most of us are, working on our business or at least getting our business started in the pockets of our days. We have a lot of other obligations, even if our business is a full-time endeavor. So to keep that in mind with how much you have to do right now, I've taken that lengthy process of building a marketing plan and I've distilled it to its most key parts. So it's just 10 simple steps that are going to set you up for success and help you hit those massive goals this year. So again, I've got the download. Looks like this. You can go to our site, shecorporated.com. Up in the top right-hand side, you'll see free downloads. Just look for the 10-step marketing plan and you can download that for free. Now, this training, as I said, is packed with action ideas that you're going to need to follow up on. You're not going to have time to get them all done today or even this week. So start a notebook, block out some time over the next few weeks, and break this down into actionable steps that you can actually put to work in your business over the next few weeks. Okay. So get your pen and paper ready and let's do this. So step number one in anything marketing, all things marketing, is your target audience. And if you have not sat down and really thought through and done the research and figured out who your target audience is, if you're having trouble with anything else in your marketing, it's because you haven't nailed your target audience in most cases. So if you have your target audience and you did them a few years ago, do them again. Your audience changes, your product changes, the world changes. You really need to sit down on an annual basis and look at your target audience and really hone in on who they are and if you're reaching them effectively. So it helps to think of them as individual people rather than general characteristics. So women, for example, isn't a target audience. How old are they? Where do they live? How much they earn? What's their lifestyle, their behavior? What do they struggle with? All of those things are things that you really want to dig into with your target audience. The more you can niche it down and the more specific you can get, the more your message is going to resonate with who you're trying to reach. The biggest mistake we make, especially when we're starting out, is to go too broad with our audience because we think, well, I can sell to any woman, for example, if you thought that was your target audience. You can, absolutely. But what happens is when you go too broad with your message and you don't niche down, you do that because you think it's going to give you more customers, right? You want to be able to sell to as many people as you can. But what it really ends up doing, instead of giving you more customers, is it gives you more competition, right? Does that make sense? So less opportunity to really hit home with your messaging. You can't get specific enough with your message to really resonate with anybody. So it's really important to go right down to the micro level and say, okay, who is it? How old are they? Where do they live? What do they do for a living? Because that very specific person that you build as your buyer persona is going to represent thousands and thousands of other people. And you're going to be able to speak to them on their level. You're going to be use the right language and be able to find them wherever they are. It makes your marketing much more directed and much more effective. We actually went through this in detail in episode 3 on the One Step Empire podcast. So if you write down episode 3, it's called Buyer Personas. And I have a free download that I'll tell you all about it in that episode that's going to walk you through the process of creating your buyer personas and really nailing who your target audience is. So go back to that episode 3 in One Step Empire podcast, and we'll drill down in there and help you target your ideal audience and find your buyers. So that's step 1. You got to figure out who your target audience is. Step 2 is, what is your unique selling proposition? So what makes your product or service unique and better than all the available alternatives? What makes your business stand out? So sometimes that unique selling proposition is a characteristic of your product or a service that might make it better or different. But sometimes it's completely created. Maybe you have just insane customer service, or you have luxury branding, right? It's not an actual feature of your product or service that's making it better. It's something that you've created around it that sets it apart from the rest. So to be successful selling, your product has to have something that makes it more attractive to your customers. If it's a low price, a great guarantee, proven results, what makes your product or service better than your competition? And if you can't think of anything, then you need to sit down and figure out what you can implement, because that may be one of the reasons if you're struggling in your marketing. Okay. So step 2, what is your unique selling proposition? Step 3, what is your value to your customers? So why will your customers choose you? What do you offer that makes you valuable to them? Why will they keep choosing you and refer their friends to you? And one of the best ways to determine this is to ask your customers, because they are already choosing you over other alternatives. So why? It's a great way to get exactly the information you need rather than just guessing. You can do an informal poll on Facebook or Instagram. You could do something more formal, like an emailed survey to your list, to use like SurveyMonkey, something like that. You think you know why they buy, but if you don't ask, you're really just guessing. So don't waste your time or your money on guesswork. Ask them, and you may be surprised at the answers that you get. Number 4, what are your SWOTs? The SWOTs are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it sounds incredibly boring, but it's actually really, really useful. And the results you get from this are not boring at all. They're exciting. So it's a really useful way to break down both your internal and external factors in your business. So you're going to look at your internal strengths and weaknesses, and then you're going to break down your external threats and opportunities. And it is one of the fastest ways to find opportunities in your business that you can cash in on right away, which makes it one of the most exciting exercises for me to do in my own businesses. So we went through this in detail again on the podcast. It's episode 4 of the One Step Empire podcast, and it will walk you through the whole process. And again, there is a downloadable workbook that's free that lays it all out for you how to do this exercise. And it is an amazing way. There's a whole bunch of things that you're going to get out of this as far as strategy for your business, but it is an amazing way to find opportunities that you can grab onto that will move the needle fast in your business. So go back to episode 4 in the One Step Empire podcast for the full kind of 10-minute explanation on how to do the SWOT and to get the free workbook as well for that. All right. So that's step number 4. What are your SWOTs? Step number 5 on our 10 steps is, who are your competitors? And when I mention this one, it's so funny. I often have people tell me, especially women, tell me that they don't bother with their competition. They don't want to know what they're doing. They just want to do their own thing. Here's the thing. Copying your competition is not the point here. The reason you need to research your competition is actually the opposite. It is critical to understand the landscape that you're operating in, so you can set yourself apart from the pack, and you can find opportunities that your competitors might be missing or even creating for you. So you want to know, who are your top 3 competitors? What do they do well? What do they do poorly that's creating opportunities for you to grow your market where they're dropping the ball? It's really important to have a look around. And if you look around for competitors and you say, I don't really have any competitors, and what I have is so unique. I know we all believe the thing that we have is incredibly unique, and it might be nothing else out there like it, but something is filling that need, right? And it might be just them not doing anything about it, might be the other alternative to using your product. So I'll give you an example. If you had, let's say you were selling some kind of gift item, and it was so unique and there's nothing out there like it, so you think you have no competition. But in reality, your item has competition from other things they could use to give as a gift, right? So maybe there's nothing else like your gift, but if they didn't give your gift item to somebody, they could send flowers, they could send chocolates, they could send a card, they could do nothing, right? So that is your competition, whatever else is filling that need. Okay. So have a look at, I always say, take your top 3 competitors and then do that SWOT analysis that we just talked about in the previous one for your competitors as well. And that'll give you a really good detailed view on what your opportunities are in the market. All right. So that's step number 5. Step number 6 is, what is your pricing strategy? And a lot of people don't realize this is marketing. This is not operations. This is marketing. So what will you charge for your product or service? What will your markup be? What packages or discounts will you offer? You want to keep in mind things like market conditions, competitor, production costs, as well as what makes you unique in the market and adds value. Pricing strategy is really a cornerstone of your marketing strategy. And a lot of us default to a kind of cost plus model, right? This is what it costs me to produce it. This is going to be my markup, whatever the percentage is. And then, this is what I'm going to sell it for. In many situations, you want to look at actually your value to your customer, because there's a lot more opportunity there to have a higher margin on your products, to have a higher profit on your products, depending on what the value is. I'll give you an example. Let's say you were doing coaching, you were doing sales strategy coaching, and you were going into businesses and you were helping coach their sales team on how to make more sales. Now, if you did a cost plus model, how much does it cost you to get there? How much does it cost you to, your time to actually put together the presentation, right? It's probably not a lot, because it's just your time. There's no materials or anything going into it. If you priced on that, you would be desperately undervaluing yourself. Because what if you go in and maybe you're so good, you go in and that sales team of 25 people, they all do an extra $100,000 sales in a year. What is that value to the company, right? You should be charging instead of maybe $1,000 for that day long session you did, maybe you should be charging $10,000 because their return on investment is enormous. So you really want to look at your pricing strategy. And there's a number of ways you can do that. If you're interested in pricing strategy, you want to drop a comment in the chat or in the comments and tag me. I can send you some resources for that so that you can really dig into the different options for pricing. Okay, so that's step number 6. Step number 7, what's your promotion strategy? Now, this is the one that people think they have a marketing plan in place because they have a promotion strategy in place. So this is how will people find out about your product or your service? How will you find your leads or your customers, your referrals? Where are your people now? How are you going to get in front of them? This is things like your social media strategy, your ads, your content, that sort of thing. And that's really what a lot of us think of when we think we have a marketing plan in place, but it's really just one small part of what your total marketing plan should be. So all of these things are very important. Very important also to step back, take a bird's eye view at all of these pieces and how they fit together and have them planned out on a calendar for the year so you can allot the prep time and the resources to make them happen. All right, step number 8, what are your marketing goals? Again, we set goals for our company, we set goals financially, but what are your marketing goals, right? What results do you want to see in your marketing by the end of 1 month, 6 months, 1 year? You want measurable goals like how many subscribers, how many views on social media, how many new inquiries, as well as things like which campaigns do you want to launch, what projects do you want to complete. Those are your marketing goals, and you really want to set those so that you're keeping an eye on that as you move through the year. That's step number 8. Step number 9 is what is your marketing budget? You are going to have to spend some money, and how much money you spend depends on your goals and what you can afford. But let's be honest, you are already spending money on marketing. You're just not planning it out in advance, right? You realize, oh, I need that sign. I'm going to go buy that sign that I need for this thing that's coming up. Or, oh, I'm going to throw some money behind this ad and throw up a Facebook ad. You need to take that and to look what you did in the last year. What did you spend on marketing? And then take that and plan it out so you can use it to its best advantage over the next 12 months. So figure it out. And even your time, honestly, your time is not free. Your time has value. So even if your strategy has mostly low cost or free strategies like content marketing, for example, you still need to have a small budget to get that content in front of new prospects. So how much are you willing or able to spend on your marketing per month? And then budget that out and plan. Okay. So that's step number 9. And step number 10 is the big one. It's where we pull it all together. So we need to create your action plan. So you want to think through a few things before you fill out that last sheet on your workbook. You want to think about what specific steps you need to take to act on the opportunities that you found in that SWOT that you did. So you looked through your SWOT, looked at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Now, what action steps do you need to take to grab onto those opportunities? Okay, so put that on a piece of paper separate from this sheet. You want to think about what you need to do to implement your promotion strategy. We just talked about your promotion strategy. What steps do you need to put in place to get those things to happen? Whether it's a new campaign that you wanted to launch, whether it's your social media strategy, whatever it is, you want to sit and you want to work through, okay, what steps do I need to put in place to make that happen? And then the third one is you want to think about what steps you need to reach the marketing goals that you outlined. So if you decided you want so many subscribers or you want, so many likes on an average post, whatever it happens to be, what are the steps you're going to take to get you there? So work through those on a separate piece of paper. And then on the last sheet of your marketing partner, you're going to see this here. This is, where are we here? There we go. The plan. So that's what I'm talking about now is we're going to sit down. Now that you worked that all out on a separate piece of paper, you're going to sit down, you're going to take this piece of paper, the last page of your planner, and you're going to outline 10 action points that you need to complete in the next 30 days to reach your goals. See, this is where the rubber hits the road. All of these things are wonderful, but if you don't actually do them, they will make no difference in your business. So I want you to pick 10 of the points that you worked out on that separate piece of paper, those 10 action points that you need to do in the next 30 days to help you reach your 30-day goal that you set, right? And then set a specific date that you will complete each goal. So if you look at the sheet again, you're going to see that you have the task and then you have the date over here. You need to set a specific date that you plan to have each task completed. Make it realistic, right? So that you don't, I mean, if we say we're going to get them all done tomorrow, it's not going to happen. And then you're going to feel defeated. So make them realistic and then stick to them and block time in your schedule to get those things done. Because what happens is with almost all of us with business development stuff and marketing stuff, if there's fires to put out, there's running around to do, there's emergencies that come up, and it just gets pushed to the bottom of our list. So block some non-negotiable business development time on your calendar over the next weeks and make that the time that you make these things happen. Okay. And then once you get to the end of the 30 days, you want to look at the sheet. You want to say, okay, these are all the things that I completed. Maybe I missed a couple. And you want to do that again for the next 30 days. And you will be absolutely amazed at the amount of progress you can make when you tackle it that way. You're going to look back at the end of 6 months and be like, whoa, what happened? Look what I did in the last 6 months. So to set yourself up for success, be sure that you set a date that you can reasonably achieve, like I said, and stick to it. But then when you achieve each goal in your list, make sure you reward yourself for that success. It can be a little reward. It can be a big reward. Could be whatever you want. But it's a little mindset trick that's going to help you pave the way for even more success in the future. So make sure you're giving yourself those rewards.